IF, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Ronnie Rance here with you, alongside Tommy Krysan. He's at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, where they're getting ready for a big weekend of high school football tailgating. Got a lot of catering gigs going on, so stop by Tremonti's and get your meat and seafood there today on your way home. Also, today on Sports Shorts Daily, we'll get into a lot of football talk. The line has jumped 1.5 on LSU. A lot of people liking the Tigers as it started off at 29.5 early this week. Now it's all the way up to 31. Strange situation with Kayshon Boutte. We'll talk about that as he's a proud papa this week, but he's not going to play in this game. And there's a lot of people wondering why and what's going on and whatnot with that. I have some thoughts. Also, yesterday in the morning, it came out that the Tigers were going to find out around 11 a.m. Central Time their fate with some NCAA violations. And most people were kind of thinking this might be the Will Wade shoe that drops on the LSU basketball program. That has not been the case. That is down the line. But we do have some small news when it comes to LSU football. We'll get into that. And when will this Will Wade LSU football investigation wrap up? That's the good question. And when will the rulings and stuff like that come down? As far as the Saints are favored on the road against the Carolina Panthers this weekend. I actually was at the Saints facility yesterday because we had our Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame quarterly board meeting there. Got a chance to see a couple of the players up close and personal, talk to Mickey Loomis for a couple minutes. And so have some thoughts on the game and whatnot, what's going on over there as well. Bring in Tommy from Tremonti's. First off, Tommy, I want to talk about the NCAA stuff that came down yesterday. I know I had almost forgot about the whole James Craig deal, right? Like, so when we heard NCAA is going to have a ruling on some infractions with LSU, we're all thinking, here we go. We're going to find out if LSU basketball is going to make postseason this year or not, and that kind of thing. And it was like, the James Craig thing? Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that was kind of forgotten. What was your takeaway with what came down, and tell us about what came down?
Yeah, it was kind of a curveball. Like you, I was thinking we're going to hear the Will Wade thing, and it went the other way. What came down basically boils down to a slap on the wrist for LSU. One less visit, that's not that big a deal in the big picture. And then there's 1 year probation. The only thing about that is if you can't let anything else happen while you're on probation, because then you're going to get more than a slap on the wrist. So I think it kind of clears the air with the James Craig. He violated some things during the COVID. They had shut down everything, stopped all the in-person visits. And I read some of the stuff he did. He talked to a kid in the driveway, gave a kid a bag of LSU gear, which was breaking the rules. There was a couple of things he did, not just one or two. Then, of course, Ed Orgeron called him in and said, "We're firing you for cause." And he said, "What cause?" And then they didn't pay him. He sued. A court said the LSU had to give him the money. But we're talking about $500,000, a few nickels under that. And then now that this happened, I think LSU may end up not having to pay him. Now, they paid Ed Orgeron $17 million, so what's $500,000 for James Craig? But it might be the principle of the thing. He's got a 3-year show cause, which means if any other NCAA school wants to hire him within the next 3 years, they're going to have to show why they can hire him and why it's not going to be a problem and how it's going to be good, blah, blah, blah. So, but I don't think it's anything major for LSU football.
Well, he came from the NFL. He's back in the NFL as an assistant offensive line coach with the 49ers, and I assume that's where he'll stay because anybody who gets fired has to go through a lawsuit to get paid. When you're guilty of giving a tour of your neighborhood and handing a parent some of your old sweaty gear that you don't want because you got new gear coming, and all of a sudden that costs you $500,000 in your reputation. I mean, like, why would you ever want to be in college football unless you had to be? Just stay in the NFL where you can do whatever you want and work 365. But, what's funny about that is when I was coming out of high school, I took a visit to Louisiana Tech for baseball, an unofficial visit. And I go there to watch them play Texas A&M, and they actually I think they split with the Aggies in a doubleheader that day. This was spring of 1990, and Coach Patterson at the time brings me into his office at the old Louisiana Tech Stadium in the dungeon down there, and he hands me a brown paper bag, the lunch sack. You go to a grocery store and you get a brown bag lunch. It was like a bag like that, but it was soft. And he hands me a bag, and he's like, and we're in his office, and he like looks around as if somebody's there, looks around and hands me the bag, and I'm thinking like, is there money in it? Like, what's going on? And when I walk outside, after I'm done with the meeting, I crack it open and I look in the bag, and it's a Louisiana Tech baseball T-shirt. But he could have got fired. He could have got fired and fined and everything like that for giving me a Tech T-shirt. Who knows if it was new or used or whatever? But anyway, it's kind of what James Craig did, just on a bigger scale, right? Hey, where should I live? Let me show you the neighborhood. I live over there. Come on by. I'll give you a tour. I mean, it's so ridiculous when we've got guys out there right now making millions of dollars on NILs. You got players literally taking tours of campuses going, how much money can I make if I come here? And yet we're gonna fire a guy for cause, for having contact, giving a guy some shorts and a T-shirt, his used stuff, and for giving him a tour of the neighborhood. I mean, come on, man.
It is a little bit, it's the NCAA. I mean, they're so quirky. It's NCAA is an acronym for no clue at all. And this is an example of having no clue at all.
Well, it's now LSU football. Obviously, the biggest question for them has nothing to do with on the field. It has to do with the business side. Can they recoup that $450,000 that they originally were ordered to pay? Craig, they'll appeal, and we'll see. The crazy thing, Tommy, is they're going to spend all kinds of money fighting whether, and they've already spent money defending their lawsuit. Now they're going to have to spend money on the appeal. You just should have given them the money, and then it all would have been good. But anyway.
Or call up James and say, James, $300K, and we call this a wash, okay? Yeah. Or here's $250 or whatever, Yeah. Wow.
All right. So now we'll sit around, we'll wait. Who knows when the whole Will Wade shoe is going to drop on the LSU basketball program. We were hoping that this day and age, with the mentality of the NIL, that it won't be as bad as we initially thought. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was watching Jordy Collado on his show this morning. Of course, they talked about the James Craig thing. That he said, and he had Will Wade on his show many times. They were buddies. He said he doesn't think LSU is going to get hammered hard at all over the Will Wade thing. Will Wade may get, a show cause or something like that, but that just was his opinion, and I know he's followed that whole thing closely.
So I would say that, but Jordy's also, a Will Wade sympathizer. They're buddies, and he always thinks he deserves less or it's going to get less. And I'm hopeful. But I'm just surprised. I mean, just when you think of something like that, then all of a sudden you get a guy, that gets kind of hammered for some BS like this with their coach. So
yeah, what Will Wade did is a little bigger than what James Craig did.
Yes.
Like
yes.
Times a million.
100%. So let's see. Moving on. What's going on with Kayshon Boutte? I mean, like this stinks of this stinks. I mean, we thought that Kayshon Boutte and Brian Kelly had this kumbaya relationship from the time he got here. He was fixing that, and this is just another diva wide receiver, and that is just, I don't know what is going on, man. He's not playing well. It's everybody else's fault. He dropped balls against Florida State. He's not going to play against New Mexico State because his girlfriend had their baby during the week. I just don't think he wants to play against New Mexico State. It's not worth it to him. And the crazy thing is, Tommy, is that the bad attitude that he had off the field in the last fall, and the bad attitude that he's shown this year with all his antics online, with the deleting the stuff and the throwing the helmet and they're not going to play now in this game. All of those things probably not going to affect him at all. He's still probably going to be a top 10 pick or a high first round draft pick, in the NFL. It's amazing how they just overlook these things. And yeah, it's ridiculous.
If the NFL thinks he can play, they'll overlook it all. I mean, I remember a quote by John Gruden when he was announcing Monday Night Football, and they were talking about Terrell Owens or somebody, and then the play-by-play guy said, "Well, John, doesn't he have a lot of baggage with him?" And John Gruden said, "I've never forgot this." He goes, "Baggage is that if you can't play, that's baggage. If you can play, you don't have baggage. That's going to be the thing with Booty." Now, but this whole Booty, LSU, Brian Kelly, 2-2 is not making 4. We don't know the whole story. There's probably lots of things we don't know. But, when you get players that are starting to pick what games they want to play in, that's a selfish thing. That's not a teammate thing. I don't like it. Now, again, if an NFL team thinks he can help them win, they're going to put him on the roster. But if his attitude and his performance isn't up to speed, then he's not going to be a first-round draft choice.
Do you think that this is, I mean, clearly that's what this feels like, right? Like that Kayshawn is not electing to play in this game, and they're hiding behind the whole, LSU football is hiding behind hey, we're not going to make you go play against New Mexico State and risk injury and all that. We don't need you for that game. You enjoy going and being a dad. Nowadays, a lot of businesses are giving dads, 8, 12 weeks off, whatever, when they have a baby, even though they didn't carry the baby. And, that's has to be allowed and all that. Most of it's unpaid, though. All of it usually is unpaid. But that said, maybe that's what this feels like. I mean, give me another reason why.
Well, when they first said that because his girlfriend's having a baby, I'm thinking, they're going to plan to have it 6:30 Saturday? And nobody goes in to have a baby Saturday afternoon. You go in at 6 a.m. on Monday or whatever the doctor says. I thought that was odd. Then it was revealed that she already had the baby at some point yesterday. I'm not sure of the time. And according to some people, baby's healthy, mama's healthy. There's no issues that would cause you to want to be by her side or spend time at the hospital, whatever. So, I mean, 2-2 is not making 4. And this whole Booty thing, it's a distraction for the team, for the fans. I mean, for the media, everybody in the media. I mean, guys have been around forever are saying, what's going on here? Something ain't right. Now, maybe we'll learn some stuff going forward. Maybe some stuff will come out down the road. But I think he's going to pull the Terrence Marshall. He's just going to say, I'm done playing, and I'm preparing for the NFL. He's going to go somewhere in Florida and work out with somebody and hope he gets drafted.
There's no question that the Booty camp is disappointed with the quarterback play, with his production. They're never going to accept responsibility. It's always going to be the other guy. And so I totally anticipate that, Tommy, whether it's now or whether it's a couple games from now. I anticipate hey, I've got a little bit of a calf strain. We're going to, heal that up, and we're going to get ready for the NFL draft. That just absolutely feels like that's what's coming. And the reality is that I hope these people that have given all this NIL money have some sort of protections, right? They have some sort of clause in their agreements that say, hey, if you're not playing or you quit or whatever the case may be, you got to give money back, or you don't get all your money, or whatever the case. This is just ridiculous. It's a terrible precedent. And the worst part is that so far, if you are a stud, these things don't have any impact on your future. So why be a good team player and do the right thing instead? This will be now almost 2 years where we don't see much out of them.
Yeah, Stephen Miller says they had the baby around 8 or 9 p.m. last night. So
yeah, he did he gave the prayer hands, and this is amazing and all that. So clearly he's on social media. Clearly everything's fine. And by the way, interesting story last night at the Brian Kelly radio show. They had a Stephen Miller, of course. I'm sure, assuming he was there. I've never not seen him there.
Yeah, he's always there.
When I went to the very first Brian Kelly radio show, and I was surprised to see that he's not signing autographs and he's not taking pictures and all that in between commercial breaks. Now they do have one question each quarter, they'll have one question. All right, our question today. And if, and whoever's there can send in a question that they have them at a table, little sheets of paper. And if they pick your question, they'll give you a signed poster by him. And that's how they fill some time. A lot of times in the breaks, you come up, you get the one poster signed, take a picture. The rest of the time he's talking to Chris Blair, or he's talking to his family who was there last night. Well, a lot of these fans, they're used to, going back to every coach ever being able to take pictures, interact, high five, whatever with the coach during the commercial break. So sometimes people like Steven, they know the drill by now. They were told before the first show, hey, don't go take pictures, don't do anything. But some of these people are coming for the first time and they haven't been since last year, and so they don't know any better. And last night I had an incident where a lady was trying to get back up there to get him to sign his poster and all that kind of stuff. And they, they told her to back up, and she kind of went off on a number of people and caused a little mini scene. And also there were like 2 or 3 open tables last night. A couple people canceled their reservations or didn't show up last night. I think it's a bad look for Brian Kelly. What's the harm in, signing some autographs and stuff like that?
Well, he took some pictures at some point last night. Casey McKenzie's daughter. He took a picture.
But she had her question got picked. That's why.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah. Okay, so that's why she got the picture with Coach Kelly.
Yeah, okay. He'll take one picture every commercial break with one person. That's done through LSU Sports Properties if you have your question picked. To be able to use by Chris Blair. Outside of that, there used to be a line. Remember, if you went to any coach's show, there was always like a line of people every commercial break, trying to come in there to ask questions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I agree with you. It's kind of a bad look, especially because people are used to something. I mean, the world's all about change, and some things do change, but they should have maybe put it out there that, hey, it's going to be a different format and blah, blah, blah. But then
they did do that the very first show. They went around the room about 15 minutes before the first show and told people, hey, no, but they're not going to do that every single show, right? And so people show up who haven't been there before, and it's unnecessary. There's some jaw jacking going on between the fan and got pissed off, and this is ridiculous, and F him and all that. Like that's just sign the freaking autographs. Just take some pictures, sign the autographs, and all this would be forgotten. Instead, if you're going to act that way, Tom, if BK, as his nickname is, if he's going to act that way, then you better just win them all. You can't lose. If you're going to not be the friendly signing guy, selfie guy, picture guy, if you're not going to be that guy, then you better win them all. And that's clearly not going to happen this year.
Right.
LSU, the line moving up to 31. I guess I was a little surprised, to be honest with you, Tommy, that the line was only 29.5 when it first came out against New Mexico. And the line now is jumping up, I think, nationally. And a lot of people are thinking, come on, it's LSU at home against New Mexico. No way that game's going to be close. But if you dig in and you watch this LSU offense, I mean, I don't care who they play. It's going to be hard for them to score 31 points, period.
And I did pick LSU minus the points on my podcast, Talking Sports with TK. But here's the odd thing. LSU's 31-point favorite. The over and under is 45. So the wise guys are saying LSU's going to win 35-7 or 36-3 or 41-3. I mean, I've always looked at that. My buddy Dave in Vegas used to tell me that you can read between the lines on the line, the spread, and the over-under on what they're telling you they think is going to happen. They're telling you they don't think New Mexico is going to score. Or score, they might get that one touchdown, and then LSU is going to have 34 or 38 points.
I came up with a rule, and I'm sticking by it, and it worked for me last week. I had an enjoyable experience, even though one won and one lost. I'm not betting Saints or LSU the rest of the year. I'm just going to watch the games, cheer for my home team. I don't want to have the agony of winning but not covering. That's the worst, right? Or the double agony of you think they're going to win, they lose, and you lose double. But if I were to bet, it would be hard for me not to take the points.
Really?
Wow. It really would. I just think this offense is not is just not super good, and I can totally see a 35-7 type game here or something like that.
I think John Emery's going to have a big night, and Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to continue to get better. I think LSU is going to get to the 40-point mark. They're going to be somewhere. I mean, they're going to get between. Well, here we go. Sports Shorts Daily. TK says LSU will be between 38 and 42 final score. That'll be their number. So the over and under and the spread matters to whether they keep New Mexico off the board.
New Mexico's defense, and granted, we know they haven't played anybody super tough, but through the first 3 games, their defense a top 15 defense in the country in all the different categories. So, you know, that combined with we got the Booty distraction, he's not going to play. The offensive line has, you know, been what it is. I just don't know that I trust that this offense is going to just flip the light switch and all of a sudden become potent.
I think it's going to be potent. So we'll have to see on Monday Sports Shorts Daily whether you or I were thinking right.
Well, you're the one that's putting your money where your mouth is. You're taking LSU in the points. I'm not putting a dime on this game, which means I'll probably win. Usually, when you don't put money on games, is when you're going to win. But I think we're looking at an ugly LSU victory. And the reason I think that is I think there's a letdown factor. I don't think the fans are, you know, last week SEC game, you're sandwiched in there. New Mexico, it's a giant game for them. They're on a high. They're feeling good about themselves. We'll see. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to be down the bayou at Thibodaux. Rich Rodriguez, the head coach at Jacksonville State, going to be bringing his team down to take on Nichols and Timmy Rebowe. How the mighty have fallen. Rich Rod at one point in time was 1 game away from being in the BCS, and then another time he was this close to being the LSU coach, and then he was a coach at Arizona, and now he's the head coach at Jacksonville State, where can you find Jacksonville State on a map?
I kind of know where it is. We played them in baseball back in the day, but anyway. No, that's it. I'm going to be in Thibodaux, too. I'm part of the TV crew in the truck, so I'm looking forward to getting back down to Thibodaux and see my good buddy Tim Rebowe and see if the Colonels can get a win. They've struggled a little bit this year. They've given up a lot of points if you look at the stats.
Yeah, they've had a tough schedule, too. I'm sure they're glad to be getting back into playing in their classification and stuff like that. All right, TK, give us besides the LSU pick, give us a pick for tomorrow that you really like for the bettors out there. You've got LSU covering, but what else?
I tell you what I really like, Arkansas on the money line. It's like plus $1.10, okay? They're getting 2 points, 2.5, depending on where you shop. The game's at a neutral site. It's in Arlington against Texas A&M. The A&M offense is just suspect. Arkansas, I'm buying in on the Hogs. I've won on them a couple of times this year. And they're a slight underdog, so I think, the heck with the 2 points. Go on the money line and get yourself plus $1.10, unless that starts moving around. That's what it was about an hour ago. So Sports Shorts Daily says get on the Razorbacks on the money line.
We'll tomorrow morning we'll be live at is tomorrow LeBears? Yeah, tomorrow we'll be at LeBears Casino tomorrow, and Hunter McCann was on fire last week, 3-0 on his pick. So tune in tomorrow morning from 10 until noon. We'll have Hunter's picks on at some point during the show, as he was 3-0 last week. The NFL this Saturday, the Saints taking on Clemson. My goodness, taking on Carolina. I'm thinking the Carolina.
And that would be Sunday, not Saturday. Hey, Ronnie, shake your head. Your eyes are stuck.
Yeah, take it on Carolina. Is this going to be the game where Jameis Winston finally breaks out, Tommy? I mean, this is to me, this is a make or break game for Jameis Winston, because if he goes out there, lays an egg, and they lose against the Panthers, a team they should beat, their favorite, all of a sudden, I mean, the white flag could go up for Saints fans, and they'll be calling for Andy Dalton.
Absolutely, that's what's going to happen. This is a big game for Jameis Winston. He's got to really have a great game. They got to run the ball. He's got to, move the ball around and not take sacks. Because if he has a bad game, that they're going to say we got to go to Andy Dalton, who's a Pro Bowler. I mean, this guy's not bad. Okay, probably one of the better backups if you go through the league rosters. So big for Jameis Winston. Like you said, they're a road favorite. They should win the game, but that's why you line up and play. You don't really know.
Alvin Kamara back with the team, practice this week. I got a chance to meet in the cafeteria yesterday the first round pick for the Saints, who's out, the offensive lineman that's out with the injury. He had the little scooter, had the leg up on the scooter kind of thing. And got a chance to see Michael Thomas, shake his hand. He's a big fella in person. But this game, and there's a feeling, there's an uneasiness around the program right now. They're unsettled, I guess is the best way to feel it, as far as the staff and all. They feel the pressure of, we have not performed well. We're lucky to be 1-1, quite frankly. And what is going on? Like that's kind of the vibe you get around there. It's, as soon as this game's over, they go to London, and then they're there all week, and they take on a Vikings team, obviously, that has one of the better players in the league, and Justin Jefferson. So you'd like to, and who knows what happens in London. That's just such a strange game, with everything from the food to the time change to go what's going on over there. Although that's a Saints home game, they'll have their same PA guys and staff running the press box and stuff like that over there in London. But if you have any hopes, like I do, of an over/under 8.5 wins on the season, this is a game you got to have. Because this is a game that you chalked up a win at Carolina when you saw the schedule and you knew how bad Carolina was going to be on offense this year. This is a game you have to have if you're thinking that this team's going to get 10 wins or something like that. So we're going to learn a lot, because, like I said, the Vikings game's a coin flip in London.
It's a must win for the Saints. I mean, every game's a must win. I hate that cliche, because I think every time you line up, it's a must win. But in the big picture, and the guys that bet the over the 8.5 win, I mean, no, this is one you got to get. It would have been one that before the season, Carolina was picked to come in, with 5 or 6 wins this year. So Saints have to get the win. Winston's got to play well. The defense is usually pretty solid. They got to do that, and they got to fly home with a W. With
Kamara in the lineup, I mean, it just changes the dynamic of your offense so much, especially in the passing game, because he's so good out of the backfield. The other team has to account for him in a serious way. Plus, he can line up in the slot and all that. In the NFL, unlike in college, where there's so much carryover from one week to the next, this team's on a roll, this team's showing momentum. In the NFL, that's not the case, very often. I mean, it can be that case in a good way, but we see teams from time to time look absolutely terrible, and then the next week win. And just look at last year, Jacksonville beat Buffalo. Buffalo was the best team potentially in the AFC. Jacksonville was the worst team, beat them. And in the NFL, you see that all the time. Good teams beating bad teams, even I think more so now than ever before. So I'm optimistic. I've got my Saints glasses on. I'm optimistic that Jameis is going to put it together. He's got too many weapons on offense. They're healthy. They're back. I mean, let's roll, and this is a situation where there's just no way they should lose this game. If they do, I mean, then besides just the Winston question, you might start to question if this team's got what it takes. So
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think they're going to win. I'm probably going to, go with the Saints with a little small wager there. I know you're not betting on them no more, but I think they're going to win because it's important for obviously Sunday and then going forward.
By the way, Dennis Allen celebrated his 50th birthday yesterday.
Did y'all have a cake?
They had a giant cake in the cafeteria. I got distracted and didn't go get a piece, which I'm kind of kicking myself for. It looked pretty good. All right, TK, give us one NFL pick. We know that you're taking LSU. We know in the minus points. We know that you're taking money line Arkansas, who is a 2-point dog. You're taking the money line on Arkansas, and you like the Saints to cover the -3. Give us one other game.
Well, I hadn't looked through the rest of the NFL yet on that, so I'm gonna stick with Arkansas on the money line. I'm gonna lay the 31 for with LSU, and I'm gonna take the Saints and lay that 3 or 3.5. So I'm kind of doing the home team thing this weekend, but that's what I think will work.
A battle of grossness. The Bears at home against the Texans -2.5. I'm going to take the Bears. I think when terrible teams play against each other, take the home team. So I'm going to go Bears -2.5 if you're looking for just a win. And the other team that I've been impressed with the way they've played is the Lions. I got caught up in the HBO reel, following the Lions. They lost the opener 38-35 to the Eagles and then beat Washington 36-27. The key to me, they've scored 35 or more points in their first two games. That Lions offense under Jared Goff, is looking pretty good. So the Lions on the road this week against the Vikings, getting 6 points might be interesting there to look
That's
at.
a good one. You got to examine that one because last week that was the first time in 22 months they were favored in a game, and then they won it. Okay, so maybe the Lions are doing something. And in fact, I was in a conversation last night. The Lions, the Houston Texans, and there's one other team that have never been to the Super Bowl. Detroit, Houston, and there's one other team. I'm drawing a blank now. We had it last
Chargers,
night.
huh?
No, Chargers have been.
Well, that's right, Stan Humphries. Yeah.
Detroit has never been. The Houston Texans have never been.
Cardinals.
The Cardinals have been. They've been.
That's right. They have been. Kurt Warner. Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. We had it last night. There's another team that's never been.
We're going to get this while we're still here. The Browns.
Cleveland, that's it. They were playing last night, and that's what. So Cleveland, Detroit, and the Houston Texans have never appeared in a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. And that's safe another year.
Yeah.
Both of those three teams will not be contending this year for a Super Bowl. By the way, is Buffalo? They look so good right now, Tommy. I don't know. LSU baseball just tweeted they have the #1 recruiting class in the country. Yeah, well, I mean they have the #1 recruiting class, portal class, everything under the sun. But you can only pick one guy.
Have you seen the pitching lab yet?
I have.
Was that impressive?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's yeah. I told you would enjoy it.
Coach Bourbon goes by there all the time. He's just amazed. I'll say this: Buffalo, the Bills have looked so good. I know it's a small sample size. We know that they have a pretty good team. They've had a really good team the last 2 years, and if they hadn't, played the wrong squad, who knows what would have happened. But Buffalo, Tommy, they are on the road at the Dolphins. Both teams 2-0. Dolphins had a giant comeback last week against the Ravens in the fourth quarter. Buffalo is a 5.5-point favorite. I got to go against my buddy Nat Moore and the Dolphins and take Buffalo. Until Buffalo shows me that they're mortal, why would you not pick against them? I mean, they are on fire. They look like they're clicking on all cylinders, and this looks to be their year.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on Buffalo.
And if they get home field, you're not going to want to play in Buffalo.
Trey Blossman picked that on the podcast yesterday. You got the email on that, so I agree. Buffalo, that'd be a solid pick Sunday until they show you that they're not real good. They're the odds-on favorite to go to the Super Bowl now.
By the way, before we go, kudos to Jay Johnson. He and his team were out at the Miracle League baseball game last night over at Traction. Cypress Mounds Traction, and the Miracle League, they play on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the fall and the spring, and it's special needs kids. They have different age groups. They brought a bunch of players out. Jay Johnson himself went out there last night, and everybody, I talked to some people that were out there, said it was absolutely amazing. And Jay had met one of the players that plays in the Miracle League, and he told him he was going to come, and he showed up. And a kid hit a homer, and Jay gave him his top and all that kind of stuff. So it was really, really neat moment. And I encourage folks, if you're looking for a cause to volunteer for, and you got to get service hours, whether it be a student or whether it be a business, and you're trying to do something good for the community, the Miracle League is definitely something worthwhile in doing.
I took my travel baseball team there twice, 2 different summers to go out there, and I said, "Hey, don't tell me you can't run the first. Look at these people." So anyway, so yeah, I concur with your high recommendation there.
Tell us about Tremonti's on the way out, TK.
All right, of course, like you said at the beginning of the show, Ronnie, tailgating for a high school game tonight. In fact, they got a big jambalaya thing they're doing for St. Michael's tonight. But if you just want a platter of ribeye rolls or shrimp rolls, they got 20 flavors of sausage here for the grill. They can take care of you. Same thing for the LSU game Saturday if you're tailgating. You're getting a bunch of people to come to your house to watch the Saints on Sunday. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Small group, large group, it doesn't matter. Lunch special today is fried catfish topped with crawfish etouffee. And got some bone-in pork chops in the case. Really looking good. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. And stop by for the wine selection, the huge liquor selection. A lot of stuff happening at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
All right, he's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. Don't forget to tune in to Sports Shorts Radio tomorrow morning from 10 to noon on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll be live from LeBear's Casino right next to the Barstool Sportsbook, which, by the way, grand opening for the Barstool Sportsbook, Tommy. We have a date. I have it on my calendar. We're going to be there for the grand opening. If you can make it, come on out. That is going to be – I'm getting this for you because I'll be helping MC the grand opening of it. This October 21st at 3:30. October 21st at 3:30 in the afternoon will be the grand opening. That is on a Friday, and that is a Friday before LSU host Ole Miss. That'll be the grand opening of the Barstool Sportsbook and Grill. I'm looking forward to that.
Also, shout out Chance Babin's birthday today. I saw that on Facebook. So he's one of our big supporters and all that. So happy birthday, Chance. We hope you and your son have a super day.
All right, we'll be back on Monday for more Sports Shorts Daily. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody. Go Saints and Tigers.